All right. Hello, hello. We are about a minute early, and I think that we are cruising. I just want to make sure we're going live on YouTube, and we are going to go live on Facebook as well. So let me get that going. Okay, yes. Let's see. Get a clue in 52. Tip number 12. Start live video. All right. Let's turn everything around. There we go. All right. So hello,
Hi, Coach
Facebook.
Jeff.
Hey, hey,
Hello, Coach
hey.
Jeff.
What is
Hello,
happening?
Romeo. Everything is happening, Coach Jeff. A lot
All
has
right, all
happened
right. So
past
we're going
couple
to
of
start
days.
recording now on the on Zoom side, and we are going live on Facebook. Hello, and we are streaming to my YouTube channel. Watch Get a Clue. Welcome everybody to another installment of Get a Clue in 52. This is tip number 12, week number 12. We're doing this for the second year in a row. For those of you that have been following, last year we went through the first edition of Get a Clue in 52 in 2020. Every single Sunday in 2020, with maybe one exception when I did Monday night in favor of the Super Bowl, I think it was. I deferred to the Super Bowl of all things and did it on a Monday night. But other than that, once a week, I read a tip from the book. There's 52 tips, 5 categories: communication, networking, marketing, sales, and accountability, not necessarily in that order, because when I went through the book last year in a particular order that it was printed in this version, the first version, I thought to myself that if I reordered the tips, it would be a stronger version. I also thought if I put page numbers in the book, it would be better. I also thought if I formatted it better, it would be better. I thought if I put, anyway, a couple of enhancements in the second edition. So here we are in 2021, 12 Sundays in tonight, and we are in section number 2. So the first section this year was communication. We did 10 tips in communication, and we're done with that. And I thought communication was a great place to start. It's a great place to finish. It's a great place to follow through. Yeah, I sit here believing that communication is everything. I've got a master's degree in communication. I taught public speaking and group communication, persuasion and audience analysis and nonverbal and culture and critical thinking for 20 years. And I've put that to good use, by the way, in my career as a coach consultant, soft skill trainer, keynote speaker, and now author. All right. So what I'm really excited about in the second edition of Get a Clue in 52 is not just the improvements, but also what exists in it that wasn't in the first edition. And that is a bonus chapter for the integrity game. The integrity game is what it's how I refer to the complete framework of personal and professional growth. So I used to say the Get a Clue coaching methodology or the Get a Clue coaching and leadership training. Now I'm calling everything I do the integrity game. The integrity game is delivered through coaching, delivered through consulting, training, or info products, or we play the integrity game in those ways. As a matter of fact, in many ways, we're playing the integrity game tonight. I say that in part because we're integrating each tip within a section. We're integrating tips from section to section. But also, I'm integrating a special guest tonight. For those of you that saw my post earlier today, I'm excited to welcome my broy. I call him broy. I call him Mr. Bransom. Sometimes we send each other text messages, which I refer to as Bransom notes. And he's with us as a special guest today. So let me just make a couple more remarks, and then we're going to get to Joey. I'm going to read the tip for tonight, and then we'll have more Joey. And before I do, let me just make sure that I'm thanking those that are joining live right away. So I see Romeo and Patty and Charlie that are here with me on the Zoom side. And if you want to come on into the conversation and join live, interact with Coach Joey or myself and the others that are in the room, very, very easy. It's just tinyurl.com/get a clue. And then you can come on in to the live side. I'm not monitoring any comments that may be coming up on Facebook unless I see them right there directly on my phone. So otherwise, my attention is going to be right here in the computer. I'll look over here every now and then, but mostly I'm going to be looking here because eye contact was one of the tips from the communication section. And when you're online, eye contact means looking into the camera. So know where the camera is when you're doing your Zooms, and don't be afraid to look into it to give the people on the other side that feeling that you are connecting with them. Having said that, I want to go ahead and open up tonight with some gratitude, which is, another way of saying gratitude is the dedication section. I'm always grateful. I'm always thanking people, loving people. Nobody gets anywhere without the help of others. And I'm very aware of the support and all the many ways that I get from all the people in my life. So from the dedications section, it's going to take us a couple weeks to get through all of the people that I wanted to acknowledge. But here we are in the current week. And this is to Jim, who actually wrote the foreword for the book. I don't know if you guys read forewords or if you skip the foreword to get to the good stuff, but go back and read the foreword, especially if you want to get an idea of what kind of an impact I can have on an organization top to bottom, but also to get a feel for what this man, Jim, means to me. I wrote to him in the dedication section, to Jim, you believed in me enough 20 years ago to mentor me as a recruiter. And 15 years later, you believed in me enough to hire me to coach and train your company, your entire company. You represent an amazing professional journey for me and are an icon for friendship and values. Thank you. So that's to Jim Rastusha, CEO of Etching Expressions and A+ Wine Designs. If you're looking for a specialty advertising product, you want to put a picture of anything that you love onto any type of bottle that you love and get it sent out to a customer, a client, a friend, a gift for an event or whatever, contact my good friends at Etching Expressions and A+ Wine Designs and tell them Klubi sent you. All right, having said that, now let's go ahead and get into the reading of tonight's tip. And we are in the marketing section. Like I said, we finished up communication, but we're in the marketing section now, which starts on page 40 in the book. There's a couple of quotes on page 41, but we kicked off this section last week with tip number 1 from marketing, tip number 11 overall, which was know what you need to know, then know it. And I want to qualify that title a little bit. You know, what I really recommend is get the list together, see the 11 or 12 things that I believe a good marketer knows, a marketer that wants to get better should know. Take a list and then find the 2 things on that list that'll make the biggest difference to you overall, right? Like the 80-20 rule. Of a list of 10 things, 2 of them are usually more important than all of the other 8 combined. So instead of misleading you into thinking, hey, you need to know all this stuff, I'd rather you take the approach of look at the things that good marketers know and pick the 1 or 2 right now that you're going to commit to knowing, or that you know you need to know better, or hire somebody that knows it better than you. Because basically what we're talking about is accountabilities, right? Accountabilities within marketing, accountabilities of a business, to make sure that you understand the marketplace, you know how to find prospects, find leads, turn them into prospects, and then convert them into clients, right? That's the stage. They're John Doe, completely unknown. Then they become a lead when we have their name and number. They become a prospect when they know that we got something to sell, and they become a client or a customer when they buy. So marketing is everything up until that conversion from prospect to buy. We want to get prospects, find prospects, create prospects, right? There's so many different approaches to this, but that's just a short review of last week. All these things that I think one would want to know in order to get good at marketing, get better at marketing, or be an expert marketer. And it's a preview of the next 11 tips in the section. And that brings us to tip number 2 tonight, which is know your customers, or in parentheses, know your ideal customers. I mean, the truth is I'll sell to anybody that wants to buy as long as I know that I think it'll help them. That doesn't mean that everybody from buys from me is the ideal person to buy from me. So we could talk about that if we want to tonight, but let me go ahead and read tonight's tip. It won't take very long. And then I'm going to do a more thorough introduction of our guest for tonight, Joey, because if you don't love Joey, there's something wrong with you, quite honestly. And I'll get to that in a minute. But here we go, word for word, page 44. There may be nothing more important to success in marketing than knowing your customer. Demographics are the customer's observable traits like age, gender, socioeconomic status, and ethnicity. Let me pause there. Sometimes socioeconomic status isn't always observable. A lot of times it is. A lot of times by the clothes people wear, the jewelry they wear, the car they drive, how their hair is styled or whatever, you may think they have a lot of money. And sometimes you're right. But a lot of times people are going broke, making sure you see all those things. Other times people that really have a lot of money are showing up in sweats everywhere, because they don't want you to see that they have money. So this isn't like universal. I digress. You don't always know socioeconomic status just by looking at somebody. Psychographics, on the other hand, refer to your customers' thought patterns, values, beliefs, and attitudes. It's also important to know behavioral patterns of customers, such as where they go and hang out, and what else they shop for that may be related to your products and services. The best marketers go further than that by creating buyer personas and customer avatars so as to get inside the mind of the customer to truly understand their pain relieving or pleasure seeking needs, their self-talk, their influencers, and so on. Think of the hunter that is trying to be the animal so as to get a half step in front of the animal, making that person the best possible hunter. Know your customer and you will know what to say, how to say it, where to say it, and more. Everything in marketing starts with knowing your customer. All right, there you have it. Word 40, that's page 44. Tip number 2 in the second edition of Get a Clue in 52. Tip number 12 overall, tip number 2 in the marketing section. And I'm so excited to be done with the formalities, the gratitude, the dedication, the reading of the word for word. And now I get to my favorite part. Oh, man. This guy, when I first met this guy, Joey Falcone, I was like, how can anybody be so smart and so good looking? It's just not fair. And then I was like, how do I get to be more like this guy, Joey? And then next thing I know, I started traveling the world helping people. We were coaching in an organization together, and I was doing phone coaching, telephone sessions for people all around the world. And I saw this guy, he was actually going to those places. So really, I know Joey because I wanted to be like him. I wanted to travel all around the world and help people. And lo and behold, by the time we got to know who each other was, he was like, hey, Jeff, I've got this client and struggling with accountability, and I'm giving good strategy, but the accountability piece, and you're the guy, and maybe you can help him out. I'm like, yeah, I'll help him out. And I'm like, hey, Joey, I've got this client and they're struggling with some marketing, or hey, Joey, I need some marketing for myself. Anyway, we began to just admire each other. But then what happened was we had this shared experience where we were traveling the world. We ran into each other here. We ran into each other there. And I'm like, hey, man, is this real? Do we really like, are we opposite enough where we attract? Because I'm California, he's New York, and I'm, communication and emotion, and he's technical, tactical. But we both have senses of humor and we both value the same things. But I'm like, do we really like each other? Are we really buddies? Are we really friends? And he looks at me and he says, well, you're the only one that knows what I'm going through. And I stopped and I thought about that ability to empathize, that ability to relate. Traveling the world, it's glamorous and it's fun and it's educational, but it can be lonely. It can be tiring. It can be frustrating. It can be unpredictable. And you just hang on to that on your own, in your headphones, in the terminal, on the plane, in the Uber. And when he said that to me, Joey let me know that I know what he's going through. And, a lot of people knows what he goes through, but maybe somehow I found a way to communicate that I know, to open myself up to this friendship. And we just respect each other professionally. And I kind of, you kind of hear me slowing down in my voice. I get teared up a little bit. I get emotional when I think about how much I love this guy. He's a veteran of the Air Force. So I'm grateful for his sacrifices, and I look up to him, and there's all kinds of things professionally he does that I wish I could do. So I know I always want him around. I always want him in my life. I always want him in a position to help me out, and I'm always going to be in a position to help him. And he's here tonight to help us. Welcome, Joey Falcone, my brother from another mother. What's up, broy? Welcome.
What's going on? Hello, everyone. How are you? Jeff, if you could do me a favor real quick while I'm getting ready here. Could you just share give me the share screen?
Oh, the share screen
of course,
capability.
I went over the top and I put a couple different slides together, but
that's amazing. That's amazing.
What a great intro, right? Because it brings me to the conversation that we're going to have. And that is, why are we here? Why did Jeff and I connect so well on the yin and the yang? Why do you have customers that you feel like you connect so well with sometimes? And it comes down to understanding, a very simple statement. And that is that as business owners, and that even as certain style human beings, we are put on this earth to provide solutions. It's as simple as that. We're here to provide solutions. So how is
Hang on a second.
Yeah, of course.
Joey, hang on a second. Let me just, Joey, give me 1 second.
Of course. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Joey, yeah, can you stop screen sharing for just a second?
Sure.
Let me just fix this. Testing, yes. Can you guys hear me now? Yeah, go ahead and talk, Joey.
Test.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, great.
Was it my screen share or was it something else?
No, it was me.
Oh, okay. So I'll go into that, and then we'll jump right in if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So,
Go for it. All right, we're good
yeah.
now.
So you guys see my full screen? Cool. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. So, that's what it's about on a deeper level. It's about providing those solutions to your customers. And the entrepreneurs and the humans that do that best are the ones that truly and deeply understand why they do that, what their solution is, and then third, who they provide that solution to. So, Coach Jeff, if you don't mind, I put a little bit of conversational slides together here. I've got 5 or 6 of them, nothing major, nothing
Yeah,
too over
man.
the top. Being that it's 11 p.m. Eastern, and I am now over 40 years old, so I usually go to bed by 10 p.m. So, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about your DMUs, right? Those are your decision-making units. And this is kind of, the whole purpose of tonight for me was to put a different perspective on the way that you look at your customers. But more importantly, look at the people that you provide solutions to in a different way. And they're not just, the people that buy from you, they're the people that are all around you. So if you guys are interested in learning about DMUs, just give me the quick thumbs up so I know that you guys are excited about this. Otherwise, I'd be more than happy just to hit the sack tonight and go to bed. So perfect. All right, good. Woo, the crowd goes wild. Awesome. So I'm going to read a little bit from my slides so that way you guys can jump in and ask any questions. If you guys need anything, just let me know. I am a little bit different than Coach Jeff, right? I'm a fast talker, and I want to make sure that I spew out tons of information. So you guys are more than welcome to jump in and stop me at any time. But those DMUs are they're terms that we use to describe typically the entire group of individuals that buy from you, right? They're the people that buy your products or service. And that may be in your business to business, that may be in your business to customer. It doesn't make a difference, but you can have DMUs throughout that sales cycle that Coach Jeff was talking about. There are typically 6 roles in the DMU. Tonight, I want to talk to you about the 3 most important ones that you should be aware of. And it's very important that you understand that there are multiple types of DMUs and that people go through the different DM units and may cover more than one area. Most importantly, since tonight we're looking at this more from a content marketing angle, from the marketer's point of view, or the the entrepreneur that'll be doing the marketing for your business, there are 3 roles that we really want to start with, that we really want to focus on, and I'd like for you to write these down. It's the user, number 1, the user, the influencer, and the decision maker. So we'll go a little bit deeper on those 3 tonight: the users, the influencers, and the
We
decision.
don't, Joey. I'm sorry. We don't go deeper. We tuba dive.
Yeah, I was actually considering a really cheesy joke. I started. I said, I was gonna be like, "Hello, Clubies," but then I was like, "What do you call the people that listen to you, Jeff?" So
That's a great. Maybe we should make a contest of that and see who can come up with the best name for my followers. I'm joking. I'm not that. I'm too humble for something like that. Let's move on. All right. So users.
Yeah. The link is in the bio. So
so users.
So typically, you want to have all the resources to cater to every single different person in all these DM units. There are different roles that we believe that you can have very specific or more impact on throughout your marketing cycles. And that's why we want to just start by focusing on these 3. So users are the people that, guess what? They use your product, right? They're the ones that use your product or your service. Most importantly, they want or desire your service, your solution, right? And that's what this is about. How do you provide solutions to your clients or your customers or other human beings, on a deeper level? Why are the users so important to us? And to be quite honest with you, the answer is very black and white. It's pretty simple. And that is that these people have a very, very specific need or a very specific problem, and you have a solution, or an answer to that. So that's why these people are so important. So it also doesn't hurt to understand, besides the people that are using your products, understand the people that take on the role of initiators. So let's talk a little bit about an example of this. And you guys are all business owners, or most of your business owners, and you're looking to understand your target audience more, right? It's what we call a target audience analysis. So you should notice that the quality of your target audience analysis is constantly subpar, mostly because your current tools that you have at your disposal don't allow you to conduct the proper types of analysis that you should be doing. And that's what we wanted to cluba dive a little bit more on tonight. So what is it that you should do, right? And as someone that's going to be using all these different tools, you want to reach out to people. you want to ask them, is there a possibility that, you would utilize my services or utilize, my products or my softwares, because you can help them with solutions to their problems. And it will make that person both a user and an initiator. So let's change that.
Okay, yeah. Joey, did you know that you'd move the slide ahead to influencers? No,
I did. I did. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump in right now, actually.
Okay.
So an initiator.
The only reason I wanted to clarify is because initiators, like I was wondering, wow, he didn't just say this word wrong, influencers. He didn't just say that wrong. You were still talking about users there. When you were talking about the importance of users, it's not just that you solve their problem or that they have a problem, you could solve it. But if you're successful in doing that, they can initiate all kinds of other activity for your business. So the first part of value of a user is that they have a problem you can solve, a need or a want that you can fulfill. But then if you do it, they can then be initiators of other people learning. So you can turn users into marketers for you. That's what I was getting from what you're saying. And now we're moving on to influencers. Yeah.
Yeah. So that initiator actually turns into what we call an influencer. And that's, the raving fans that you hear about, the tribe that you're building. And there's a lot of different types of influencers. But the most important part you need to understand about that initiator that moves over to influencer is they're typically anyone that has influence on somebody else that needs to use your solution, that has the ability to make that buying decision, right? And there's a whole marketing area dedicated specifically to marketing to influencers. It's called influencer marketing, and you've probably heard about it, right? So,
yeah, Joy, real quick shout out to Amy Taylor, who's watching, and then also my good friend and a real estate mogul, Brian McCrae. So let's see if we could use a real quick a real estate example. So if you have a brokerage, right, you're a real estate agent, you got a couple of agents working for you, you've worked the local area, you've been in the game for 20 years or more. You, at this point, is your business like knocking on doors, to build relationships, or do you think it's these influencers that are relationships and that are giving deals to, like I'm talking about my friend Brian McCrae, right?
Sure. Well,
over 20 years in the game, and he's got. We could probably, if we brought him on board, we could probably ask him what percentage of business is referral business or repeat business versus new business.
Sure, right, which would throw him to that influencer side. Yeah. And here's a common question I get a lot from students or clients or potential leads around the world, and that is, how do I make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time? And typically, we go over the DMU units and we say, hey, listen, the biggest audience that you can borrow, right, that you can utilize is your influencer market, right? Because they may have, a lot more customers than you that they influence the buying decision that fit into your target market or to your persona. So as they start from customers to initiators, and then, like you said, as Brian, commonly become influencers. I always use the kind of like a sample, I guess. If I wanted to be a famous woman speaker and let everybody know who I was around the world, well, maybe I would want to go on the Oprah Winfrey show, and Oprah Winfrey would tell all the women around the world, hey, listen to this guy who wants to be a famous woman speaker. I think that would be really weird if I wanted to be, but you know what? This is 2021. I can do whatever I want and nobody can tell me not to, right? So it's really important. Just kidding.
Yeah, go back to the last slide. Can you go back to the last slide real quick?
Of course I can.
I think that's an important point to slow down a little bit and see if people capture, a thing called influencer marketing, or right, you may have heard of it. I think a lot of people have heard about influencer marketing, but it's more like Bion is online right now. Maybe I'll bring Bion in to talk when you're done with your presentation about what we typically understand what our typical understanding of influencer marketing is. What I think people miss is turning customers into influencers. I think people think influencers are these other people that have big followings that get paid to wear clothes or get paid to promote product. And I guess that's true, but you're making a different point here, that a well-served customer, a user who's happy, becomes an influencer.
Yeah, and that's really the key, is turning customers into influencers, right? Building that referral network, building that word of mouth network, but influencing other decision makers, because you're going to get the fastest, return on your investment, the lowest marketing spend for the highest amount, or the lowest marketing spend with the highest amount of return on it. So turning
a lot of jokes come to mind, so many that I can't pick one and tell it, but we don't want an influencer to go influence a bunch of people that have no authority to make any decision whatsoever.
100% correct.
As a matter of fact, without making a joke of it, Patty, you're nodding your head, but we could tell the example of going to the passion test ladies and giving 3.5, 4 hours worth of presentation when neither of them can make a decision, right? They weren't. I mean, actually, they could, but they don't think they could. You know what I mean? They have to run it through somebody else, and sometimes there's politics and layers and dynamics and subtleties, but going directly to decision makers is another thing that people often, as much as I know that you want to get to the decision maker first or only, we all, I think, are guilty of spending a lot of time with people who are not ready to or capable of or have the authority to make decisions. Sometimes we don't know that up front, and we don't find out until after, Anyway, go ahead.
Well, let's actually go a little bit deeper on that. So would you say that from the knowledge that you have, the audience that Patty would speak to for 1, 2, or 3 hours could utilize your solutions?
Oh, yeah.
Of course they can. So Patty has not only,
she's the
in
influencer
essence become an initiator and an influencer. She has been, because the fact that she has spoken on those stages and somebody says, wow, where did you learn this perspective of looking at that type of communication or solving that problem? She goes, oh, well, that's a Kluby snack or something. Oh, who's Jeff Klubeck? Well, now all of a sudden we have turned Mrs. Coach Patty into an influencer. So it's just a different perspective at looking at it. The biggest idea here is, where do we find the people at the lowest spend to make the most bang for our buck? That's what it always comes down to. I don't like to make this big emotional sale here, just black and white, but we are running a business, and the whole idea is to provide as many solutions as possible and make the most amount of money possible so we can help more people, right?
Yeah, I mean, not to go down a rabbit's hole there, but there's nothing, let's get clear about this. There's nothing wrong with making money. And we have to, in order to serve more people, when we believe in what we're doing. I think it's like, I think the last sentence in the book, to refer back to the tip, and I don't know if you agree or disagree, but I think it's, well, I don't have it open, but what was the sentence I made? Everything in marketing starts with knowing your customer, right? But everything, I say that to say everything about business has to start with committing to making money. A business has no right existing if it's not committed to making money. It won't survive if it's not committed to making money. And why should it commit to making money? So that it can keep serving the people with that problem, right? So,
yeah. Or it wouldn't fill the definition of what a business is, right? And
right.
I guess it would be a non-for-profit, which
yep.
probably still makes more money than most businesses, but that's a whole nother conversation. So,
all right. So we got users, we got influencers.
Yep. So let's click through here, and we'll talk about the decision makers. And this would be that final wheel in that buying process, right? These are the people that they might need a little bit different information in order to make that decision, right? They need to know very specifically what it is that you do and what all the other options are versus what you do out there. And it's extremely important. They should, well, I guess that's the what should I do question, right? Should I look at this person or should I look at this person? I know where you're going with that, so that's why I'm moving on. But what fits my needs best, right? What helps me get through this sales process without the most amount of friction? And that's really what we're trying to persuade and prove to this part of the marketing. Additionally,
no, I just continue. I mean, a lot of people, it's just, I cringe when I think about the amount of people that are selling just because, without taking the time to realize, am I selling to the right person? Does this person really need what I want? I mean, need what I have? Can they really benefit from what I have? And they're not stopping and thinking about those things. They're just selling. That's their job, is to sell. And they're not diagnosing, or they're not analyzing, or they're not interviewing to collect information to inform their sales process. So that's why I like really pointing, a strong flashlight on the importance of marketing, and especially tonight, knowing your customer. Go ahead, Joey.
Yeah, well, this is what I always call that breakthrough moment, or that golden nugget moment. And that is, I always live by what I term the path of least resistance. And that is that there are 7-point-something billion people in this world. And not every one of them are our customers. And that's okay. I know you've been through this a lot when we're coaching students from around the world, or clients or customers. And they say, hey, we cannot get through to this client, we cannot get through this person. And I say, well, we need to go back and look at if they're actually, a person that should be buying from you. Because even if you convince them or persuade them or change their mind to take your service, it doesn't mean that they're a good customer. And we want to provide the people that want the help from you, that need the help from you, and that can actually utilize it, and that are not just looking for the lowest rate or, the biggest company or whatever the different, features that it is that you put out there. So find the customers that provide that least resistance with your business, and that is going through this type of process where you really understand your customers first.
Awesome. Okay, keep going, man.
So this is pretty interesting also, but additionally, customers are not always aware that they even have a specific problem, or that maybe you or your competitors offer something that not only could solve that problem, but it can improve their life. It can make their lives easier. Right? Isn't that why we provide solutions in some way or some shape or some form? We're trying to improve our customer's life. In these cases, it's really important that we put effort into creating really valuable content that's going to make them not only aware of those problems, but aware of how you can potentially solve those problems.
Yeah.
Right? That's super important. How do you improve your customers' lives? And those are the questions I ask. That's why I love when Coach Jeff says, we don't, I'm trying to find the right words here. It's not that we don't sell to people, but I don't sell them a product or a service. I provide them a solution. And when I sell them the solutions to the people that need the solutions, that process is so frictionless. And that's why sales become easy and fun. You don't hear that too often.
I call it just the metaphor, the hot knife through warm butter.
Yeah.
Everybody's been in the restaurant where they serve you an ice cold cube of butter with a plastic knife. You got to cut that thing to put it on your baked potato. Ain't happening. And you chop down and the piece of butter flies across to the other table. That's no fun. I like a hot knife through warm butter, please. Thank you, Patty. Continue, Joey.
Yeah, I love it. I was waiting for the next one that I like when you say commission breath. I don't know why such a dirty term feels so good when it comes out of your mouth. But
and commission breath is, that's the one good thing about COVID is because now all the salespeople have to smell their own commission breath.
Yeah, they have to wear it.
All right.
So the main reason that
I gotta get ready.
You got a lot of
Hey, all right.
It's important to understand why we do this, right? And that is a very simple way that I can put this out there. And that is what we want to distinguish these different roles, and not just these 3 roles, but the 6 roles in these DMUs, so we can speak to them differently. Because every person that we speak to is not the same, even though they may utilize the solution exactly the same. For example, I see Coach Patty, not to pick on her or something, but her and I, we utilize a lot of the same services. For example, her and I both lean on Coach Jeffrey, and we both get coaching from Coach Jeffrey, and we both utilize a lot of his solutions. But when he speaks to us in order to get us as a customer, or as a friend, or as a client, or as a whatever, he speaks to us completely different language, completely different content, completely different verbiage. And that's okay, because as you could tell from the screen, besides the fact that for some reason I look yellow, I'm assuming because I don't have any overhead lights on or anything like that, I am a little bit different than Patty. Even though she can kick my butt because she's like a 10th degree black belt, we're very different in a lot of different ways.
And she do it for nothing. I asked her already.
Yeah, well, we've been in rooms together where she's been very close. I promise you. So I use this to equate to my clients. Whenever I'm looking, to speak to my grandmother, I don't try to Snapchat her, right? Because I would never find her, right? She's not there, and she wouldn't be understanding what I'm saying. I would speak to a 60-year-old man and a 20-year-old woman with completely different verbiage in different places, and that's really important, and that's why we want to segment these people.
Yeah, just to go a little bit scuba diving on that, later on in the book, right, like later on in the marketing section, we're going to talk about know your channels. Right. So it's like when we're starting with know your customer, because when if you get that thoroughly, right, your customers thoroughly, then who else is competing with them. Then what kind of conditions they face or they put themselves in. What issues, like you're saying, what problems they have or what opportunities they seek. So which, like if I've got 20 things I sell, I don't want to sell all 20 to everybody. I want to figure out which of my 20 the person needs the most, sell them that. And then when they benefit from that, then expose them to the other things. But I'll know which promises among all my brand promises to offer. I'll know which words to use, like you're talking about. I'll know which tip number, I think it's going to be 11, is know the channels along to send which marketing messages. So do I use an airplane and skywrite it, or do I put it on the back of a fortune cookie, or do I get matches, like old school matchbook covers when people smoked everywhere, they would advertise on those, or do I sponsor Little League baseball? Are those my customers, or do I, where do I put my messages? Do I, if I'm going to keynote speak somewhere, do I pay a little bit extra at that keynote, to get an advertisement into the book, or to double up, like, do I want, it's really important to know what are the channels, how, not just which words do we use, but along which paths do we get those messages out, and knowing our customers is going to give us better decision-making ability about which channels to use to get our message out there. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, if you don't mind, I'd like to just go a hair vertical on that here. And the thing to understand about all of these different methods that we're talking about is that there's appropriate times to use these different methods and use the different types of communication, even in the cycles that you're talking about, in the channels that you're talking about. So here, I'd like for you to kind of write this down based on what it is that we're talking about here today. And it's not, an exact science, but it definitely helps you move down both that marketing and that sales funnel, or that sales or marketing process. So these are the roles or the phases, and just keep in mind, they do overlap, but it looks something like this. The users are in that, that top tier where we say we're building awareness. So awareness and interest, right? You probably heard this before, the different phases of marketing and sales. Users are in that awareness cycle. So that's where you want to talk to them. You don't want to consciously sell to them. You want to maybe subconsciously sell to them, because that's what you're always doing, is selling and selling yourself. But you want to build your awareness. You want to let them know who you are, what you do, how you can help people, why you're credible, why you have authority, right? Once they become users, and you want to move them from that user initiator and then to influencers, well, that becomes the consideration phase, where not only are they considering doing more business with you, but they're considering helping the other people decide to make decisions as well, right? So they're in that interest phase. They're creating considerations, and they're setting their intents. And then last, that bottom part of that funnel, where we have the sales, I guess is what you want to say, is where they all become decision makers. And that part of the marketing funnel or the sales funnel is where we create that direct intent, where they make those final evaluations. And then most importantly, not only do they purchase from you, but they purchase from you more and more and more, right? Because the whole thing is, when you're providing a solution to somebody, it doesn't really make a difference what you sell. If you could solve their problem and you could do it in multiple ways at multiple times and continue to help them throughout their life, they could be a customer forever. And that's what's most important. Because if your true meeting is to help people, and not just, to make money, or, not just to run a business, then, you have an opportunity to create clients out of customers that will last forever. Super important.
There's a lot of buzz around this word sustainable or sustainability, or where's the sustainability in your business model? And it really, like, if you don't want to use a word like sustainability, it's like, how are you making sure customers repeat and refer, right? How long can you continue to sell somebody, and how can you deliver to them in a way that makes them want to tell other people about it and keep coming back to you? Right? R&R to me is not rest and relaxation. It's repeat and refer.
Sure. Yeah. To me, it all starts, and you kind of already said this, but it all starts with making sure that they're the right person, right? Because if it's friction, if it has friction, or they're not the right person, then it's like that salmon going up the stream. You'll work and you'll work and you'll work, but eventually your life cycle runs out and you have no customer lifetime value. Those are the best businesses. I mean, you could use this as a, kind of a loosely based example, but there's people that, drink Coca-Cola, and when they go to a restaurant and they say, I'll have a Coke, and they say, no, sorry, we only have Pepsi products, they'll say, I don't drink Pepsi, I'm not interested. That's a lifetime customer. They're going to continuously advocate for your business.
Yeah. That's me, by the way. I won't drink Pepsi. My brother will not drink Coke. It's very funny. But one of the reasons that I had you on is not just because I think you're handsome and I wanted to look at you for an hour. And it's not because I love you so much, because we understood what it was like to travel the world and coach entrepreneurs. And it's not because you do amazing things that I wish I could do, like that incredible graphic behind you. Like, when do I get that? And then could you put on over your other shoulder, could you put this one? Could you put the first edition so I can refer to edition 1 and edition? Anyway, I can't wait till you send me that background, Joey. I can't. Anyway, the other reason that I asked you on, among all these others, is because you do this as good or better than anyone. You explain what we're talking about here when we talk about creating a buyer persona. So you're here now, and I can't wait to ready the audience for what you're about to take us through. Go ahead.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. And I take pride in this because it's, to me, it's the beginning of any life cycle of sales or marketing, and that is understanding the people that buy from you, right? Well, we could take the audience and we can break them down to very specific types of people. And I already started doing that when I talked about Coach Patty before. As I said, look, we utilize the same solution, but there are different ways to describe us, and those different descriptions, understanding those different descriptions, understanding many different things about that person helps you communicate with that person. And when you can communicate with that person deeply, you can engage with them. And when you can engage with them, frictionless sales, right? So
is there a difference, a true difference? I wrote it as if they're different, but is there a difference between a persona and an avatar?
You're really splitting hairs there, depending, on what you're talking about. The differences really don't make a difference for this conversation. What you want to know the difference of, though, is the audience and the avatar or the persona. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So a persona can fit into an audience with a larger group of people that you engage with, but the persona is you have that boat, at the dock, and it's a bunch of icebergs in the water. The audience is the people on that dock that you want to tell them that general message to jump on that boat. Once you get on the boat and you tell them something very specific, most people aren't going to jump off, but a few people will. But those people that decide to stay on because they really want, what you're saying on that message, those are the specific people that you want to start understanding more. And those are your personas, right? So they're fictional, right? They represent a specific person. And I typically start with, who's the person that buys from you the most? Sometimes that conversation in smaller business goes to, describe yourself. Did you describe your own problems, right? Did you fix your own problems in your life to create a solution in the world that you can help other people? And that's, a common starting point that carries this conversation forward. But think of it like creating, a video game character with a backstory. It's really important. Mm-hmm. You go through a lot of basic things, their name, their age, their gender. You could really go really far with that because of the way social media and digital marketing is set up these days. Facebook just happens to know when I talk about a pink flamingo float, all of a sudden I see them on my phone. That's not an accident. They're very deep in understanding the personas of the people that buy for them. But there are definitely a lot more complicated elements.
Were the distinctions I offered in the tip, demographics and psychographics, good categorical, like buckets to
those are.
Is that a good partition, demographics and psychographics, to start to break down our personas?
Yeah, and that's a really great point, because that's kind of the difference that splits, ordinary marketers and ordinary business people to the extraordinary. And that is not only understanding who these people are, but really understanding why these people are and understanding what drives them. And that's the psychographic part. So, in the 80s or 70s, there was television demographics, and people would say, it's a man 50 years old, drinks Budweiser, watches football. But now you could say it's a 27-year-old hipster from Minneapolis, Minnesota, who drinks, an IPA at a certain brewery, between the hours of 8:30 and 10:30 every Thursday night because it's ladies' night, right? I mean, you could get very, very specific. Those elements can go very deep. And then we can start not only understanding who that person is, but why they do things. And that would be that psychographic part. The most important thing that I believe this comes down to is defining a person by their values, understanding their goals, understanding, what their role is in the buying process, understanding what bothers them, what gives them bad dreams, what keeps them up at night, understanding their frustrations, understanding their hobbies, understanding, where they get information and how do they utilize it, right? Hopefully, you're going to be able to derive a lot of this stuff by looking at that demographic and psychographic information. It's most important to spend time on this topic, right? And if you have missing data, go ahead.
I like what you said about backstory. I think that's terminology that people can understand these days, right? With what Marvel is doing, with the superhero stuff and DC, and then video game, like you say, referencing video games. And, a character with a backstory. What's the character? What's their backstory? When we get that backstory, now it's like you could make somebody up, right, Joe? You can make somebody up in your head, and you can have a character in mind. But if you do it well enough, you could answer. If I came to interview you about your character, I could say, well, what's their self-talk when they're in the shower?
Yeah. So I do this.
Oh, well, the first 30 seconds before they wash their hair, they're wondering if they have enough time to really enjoy the shower, if it's a quickie. But then when they get into it, they're wondering if their parents are okay. And oh, wait, as soon as they're wondering about their parents, they're worried, wait, who's picking up Johnny from school? So we're talking like I'm thinking about a sandwich generation person, right? So when you say somebody, they're taking care of their kids and their parents' health is failing. This is just right? They've got teenagers, and what is this person's self-talk?
Of course, when they get in the shower and they have the pump shampoo, are they the one that just pushes one pump, or do they go ga, 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 until the whole thing's full? Well, maybe
I'm a one pump guy, man. I'm a one pump guy. You know that. I'm a one
personal,
pump.
bro. I don't need to know about any of that information.
Yeah,
but...
thank you. You got the guy with a full head of hair over there. All right, I digress.
Yeah, and it's true. And I do a piece when I do stage speaking, and that is for one of my companies. I owned a moving company, and I describe a gentleman who doesn't exist, and I describe him so well that people ask me, when they see me, later on in life, how is this guy doing? I said, I have absolutely no idea, but I do know this: every time that guy sits in front of me, at my desk or my table, he's on the phone. That guy's buying from me every single time, and we're gonna have a long-lasting relationship. That's a perfect persona. It's a perfect avatar.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
All right. What else you got?
So I just, the point is there's a lot of different ways to find this information. You could go deeper, and there's a lot of, online analysis and a lot of different ways you can create surveys. And, the best thing to do and the best thing to understand is keep your ear to the ground, really understand people by talking to them, being part of groups, being part of social media groups, being part of networking groups, really knowing people, really understanding what drives and what makes people tick. Because eventually we've got to solve their problem, right? And we need to identify what their problems are. And that's what's most important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm curious what else you've got, because I want to interact and keep, discussing these points that you're laying out. I don't want to delay you getting through everything that you prepared. So I don't know how much more there is, but one thing I want to say right now is that there's a lot of people that buy for pleasure, not just pain. Right. And so a lot of what we talk is, understand what their problem is and solve their problem. Maybe one of their, we could say, well, their problem is that they don't have enough fun, or they don't enjoy themselves enough. So they're going to go buy something that seems fun or seems enjoyable, or they're at a certain age in their life and nostalgia makes them feel good. So how do we put nostalgia in front of them? Does that make sense? Some people are buying to feel good, not just to avoid feeling bad. Right.
Well, everybody is buying because they want to go from a darker place to a lighter place, and you can term that however you want. They want to go from the pain to the pleasure, right? We could, this starts going into a copywriting conversation, but how do you take them out of a place of frustration? That's, one of the words I use. How do you take them out of a place of anger? How do you take them out of the place of sadness? How do you take them out of the place of loneliness? How do you take them out of the place of boredom? You have to understand what your solution is and sell to those people specifically, right? So that's why it's so important to understand them. If you're saying people buy for fun, and you are a life coach that provides life-changing materials, and this person has a great life, but they're just looking to enhance it in certain ways, they may not be your customer, and that's okay.
Yeah, I was talking about I don't know, I guess there's impulse. I guess we're not talking about selling the type of stuff that we normally sell in personal professional growth. We're talking about other things and other, specialty products or impulse purchases and things of that nature. But those people may not now need to study marketing and sales as much as people that own their own businesses, or solopreneurs or micro business owners, etc. People that are responsible for their own marketing. A lot of times a clerk on the other side of a register isn't really worried about marketing that impulse purchase that you just saw that you're going to buy right now. Somebody else figured that out and figured out how to put it in that store, in that position, what have you. But I just want to make sure that for those of you that are selling a pleasure, what Joey is saying is, even if the starting point for the client is happy or in a good mood, you're selling them a pleasure. You're still getting them to a lighter place. You're still getting them to a happier place. Like when they get the thing that makes them happy, they're happier than they were, even if they weren't in pain or dark, right? It's a scale.
It is a scale, but we can just take one more step forward. You go to a grocery or a beverage distributor or a liquor store, and you have two choices of very great wine for your occasion, for your dinner. Okay, that's a pleasure purchase. Do you need the wine in order to survive? Probably not. I hope not. But you have two great bottles of wine, so you do have a displeasure, and the displeasure is asking them what they need the wine for, right? So is it that they're trying to show off in front of somebody, or is it that they have certain taste buds, or that? So there is still a negative connotation to one of those bottles of wine over the other. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you're still driving them from that pain to that pleasure. It may not be the greatest pain, but in their mind, you're going to solve their problem. You're still providing a solution to them.
Yeah. Hashtag 50 Shades of Pain.
Exactly. But maybe 49. So it brings us to kind of this last point right here. And it's what allows you to create a lot of your verbiage, which essentially turns into that content. And that is with the sole purpose of solving their problem. Just remember that problem is, maybe a better term would be, what's bothering that person? Whether it's the wine, and maybe it's the flavor of the wine, or the cost of the wine, or the label on the wine, something is appealing to them more than something else. And we just,
I don't know if this is helpful for everybody, but years ago when I was teaching persuasion in the college, right? When I was teaching my public speaking courses, it got time to do the persuasive speech. For years and years and years, I used to say, what's the problem? What problem do you want to solve? What problem will your speech solve? What solutions do you want to provide? Make sure your audience goes out in the world and solves some problem. And then later on, I evolved over the years and realized that, I'm ignoring opportunity. And even though I hear what you're saying, that to rephrase it in terms of opportunity instead of problem, you're still getting people out of a pain and towards a pleasure. You're still moving them from one direction to another. I wanted to know my audience, and my audience was, had both analyticals, people that wanted to be nurses and engineers, and they needed to get a B or better in public speaking in order to go to the college of their choice. You know what I'm saying? Or they were salespeople themselves. They were emotives or creatives. And so I had to use problem to get through to some people and opportunity to get through to others. And then what I ended up saying was issue. And I made the metaphor that issue is like coin. A coin has a heads and a coin has a tails. An issue is the same thing. One side of an issue is the opportunity to solve it. The other side is the problem if you don't. And so I started using issue and making sure people saw that as either, we want to resolve issues, whether it's like, in other words, let's say somebody's learning about Bitcoin. They're seeing stuff about Bitcoin, and their problem is that they're missing out on Bitcoin, right? Well, their opportunity is to invest in Bitcoin, right? The issue is not missing out on crypto or taking advantage of crypto, or the crypto is the issue. There's an opportunity and there's a problem, right? Makes sense. So I just started, for what it's worth, I started using the word issue, and then I could pivot to opportunity or problem when I learn more about if I'm dealing with an analytical or a creative, for example. I don't know if I'm going too deep there.
It's exactly how I would explain it. So I'll invent something right here on the spot. Okay, so you can have this. This is all yours. Just copyright it really quickly. We're going to say what helps entrepreneurs become more successful than other entrepreneurs. What helps business people become more successful, becomes humans more successful and better at what they do, is not understanding the issues that they solve. It's understanding what the deeper issue is. Okay, so I want you to write this down. The issue could be called the benefit, right? It's what do you do for that person? How do you solve their problem? But what is deeper there? So let me give you a couple examples. I get on Facebook, lose 10 pounds in 10 days. So obviously I'm overweight. I want to lose 10 pounds. That's the problem. The benefit is that I can go to the beach and take my shirt off. That's pretty good. That's an issue that I would love to solve. I've always wanted to go to the beach and take my shirt off. But there's a bigger problem. And that is, when I lose 10 pounds, I truly want to be able to go outside on a Sunday afternoon, with the cool breeze going, and be able to play football with my son, because I'm overweight and I can't do that right now. So what happens when? So yes, we solve their problems, but what's truly motivating me deeper than the issue, right? So the issue is kind of like at the forefront of the conversation, but the marketers, the entrepreneurs, the salespeople that are the best of the best go deeper than the issue, and they go to what we're going to call the deeper issue. You can have that.
Yeah, is it? to aid in my understanding, is the deeper issue equivalent to the true consequences of not addressing the issue or not addressing the problem?
Yeah, so I relate it to what I call
in other words, on surface, 10 pounds is the problem, but the real consequence is time lost with your son.
Yeah, so obviously we're yin yang, right? So the way I look at it is, what's the true benefit? Meaning, what happens when, right? So yeah, I lose 10 pounds, but what happens when I lose 10
positive
pounds?
Yeah, consequence can be positive.
Literally the yin and the yang. It's the same exact idea, same framing, but that's why we both exist, so we can fit in that circle together, right? So now left and right brain, top and bottom, whatever person you want to describe, they all
and you guys are all witnessing it live, the Joey and Jeff interaction on Get a Clue at 52. Tip number 12 overall from the market. Well, tip number 2 from the marketing section, number 12 overall. Go ahead, Joey.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good place for me to stop, is really just identifying these 3 different people or 3 different consumers in your buying process, understanding that there are a lot of other people that buy from you than just that end user, and understanding, most importantly, that this is the start of everything that comes to follow. And without a solid foundation, we all know that you can't build a house on quicksand, right?
Yeah. Now let me give real quick. Let me pivot and shout out to Damian Elston of iCoaching and Consulting. Joey, you guys, Damian, are partners who started this amazing thing. I've been fortunate enough to be a supporting coach at your events over the years, and looking forward to more work in the future, especially when travel opens back up and everything. One of the things that I know that Damian is brilliant at was creating a program called 3 Days in a Cage. And without getting into, the grappling metaphors and like trap, but 3 days in a cage with Joey, and not like you're stuck, you're not leaving until you get success. Like, you're gonna come out with a sellable product after that thing is it's gonna be a fight, it's gonna be a struggle. You're gonna be locked in with Joey, and he's not letting you get out until you have success. I love that branding on 3 Days in a Cage. But one of the things that one of the reasons I wanted to point it out right now, if you go back to creating the buyer avatar, go back a couple slides, Joey. Stop. This is the piece right here. This might take 2.5 days of those 3 days, right? Like the creating personas. And I just want people out there that are live with me. I saw Steven, and I saw Brian, and I saw Amy on the Facebook side, and Dr. Shamila and Bayan, Romeo, Charlie, whoever's watching on the Zoom side or on the YouTube channel. Joey, will you please speak real quick about how people can get in touch with you to start to tap your genius? If you have low cost tips or info products for people, or how can people learn more about spending 3 days in a cage with you, or 1 day on a Zoom with you, or how can people get a hold of you if they want hand holding, if they want to be led in I could do it, but why would I do it when Joey's the best in the world at it? How can I position people to get a hold of you, Joey? Will you stop sharing and give some contact information and shamelessly invite people to reach out to you if they need some one-on-one time with you? Will you do that, Joey, please?
Of course, I appreciate that. What I did is I just put my personal email into the chat, so that email will go directly to me. You're more than welcome. Any of
who can do that? Yeah, Charlie or
I did it.
Patty? Could somebody put it on the Facebook side? Joey's personal email.
Yeah, yeah. If you put my personal email there, that'd be more.
Yeah, Damien is kind enough to let you come and cross market. And again, back to what I said, integrity. Get a Clue, and the integrity game is integrating with iCoaching and Consulting, and to make sure that people out there in the world, regardless of what the branding is, people get the goods.
Yeah, I want to just not end it right on that one. So I want to let people.
No, I'm not ending it. I'm going to actually open up people's mics.
Yeah, I know, but my one portion here, I just want to make sure people understand something that's very important. And I used to look at this as a cop out, and now I look at it as kind of a superpower, and that is understanding that this is never right. There is no right to what we're doing in marketing. This is tried and tested, and it's continuously evolving. I've worked with Patty for years. I worked with Coach Jeff for years. I worked with Charlie for a long. I've known Charlie for a long time. And the person that we've built in this persona is continuously evolving, because we learn more about ourselves. We learn more about our businesses. We learn more about our strengths and our weaknesses and how we get better at solving people's problems. And that persona and that market continuously evolves as you grow your product tree and you grow different types of products. So don't get overwhelmed with a lot of this information.
It's just very, 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 very simple truth, right? You guys can all see the flag over my shoulder. 1 year ago at this time, my parents were alive. Now, today, both of my parents are gone. It's 6 months after. I was in Vegas a day and a half ago. I did 36 hours in Vegas to see my brother for the first time in a couple months. But I was like living with him essentially for weeks on end. Every day we would see each other and solve the "my parents are dying" problem. And oh my God, there's advertisements that would have come on. Like, let's say I was watching, for example, I don't know, one of the major news outlets. I'll just say CNN. Let's say I was watching CNN or Fox. It doesn't matter, both of them, right? Do you know how much advertising there is for dying people on CNN and Fox that I never noticed before, but now I notice it, right? And my problem's solved, but I still notice, oh, reverse mortgage. Hey, there's an advertisement for, that's Tom Selleck selling a reverse mortgage. And I would have never noticed that unless my mom was saying, hey, should we do a reverse mortgage to pull money out so I can be pampered for my last month of anyway, like what I'm getting at is the evolution is just 1 year ago, the things that appeal to me now I may not have noticed back then, or the things that appealed to me then are not important to me now. Because anyway, it's just really critical to understand that there's no right or wrongs to marketing. As a matter of fact, let me quote Perry Farrell from Jane's Addiction and say, "Ain't no wrong now, ain't no right. There's only pleasure in pain." Now, with that, let me ask you guys to open up your microphones and any questions or comments that you have for Coach Joey or myself based on the book, the tip that I read tonight, the tips that Joey had for you, or anything under the sun. We're going to stretch this thing out a little bit and see what we have for you guys. So go ahead, Charlie, Romeo, Patty, Bayon's microphone's open, or Dr. Shamila. Welcome to Get a Clue in 52, and let's see what kind of interaction we can get into. Anybody have a comment or a question? Bayon, your microphone's open.
That means I was super thorough.
I was thinking, I thought we were all just opening up our mics. Hi. I really like your presentation. That was really cool. I'm pretty into this stuff, so I took a lot of notes. Thank you for that.
I remember I was thinking about you earlier when we talked about influencer, the word influencer. Why don't you, Bayon, can you talk a little bit about what you're doing with skating and influencing, and like your understanding of influencer, and your, I guess, experience as an influencer is different what we were talking about earlier, but go ahead and share that with us.
I kind of connected with that because I actually do have a persona, and my persona is Persian Skater, which is a really happy girl who's always smiling and brings a lot of happiness and joy to people with a lot of motivation. And her story is that she came out when like anxiety hit, and skating saved her life. So I can kind of relate to that because people that know me as Bayon and people that know me as Persian Skater see me in two different lights. And I think you brought me up when you guys were talking about decision makers, and I wrote down one of the things you guys talked about was like the way that you market yourself as like an influencer. And what I had to say about that is knowing the difference between a large audience and like a community versus like a small connection too. Because if somebody has 43 followers, they could still be a really good influencer and actually have a stronger connection with those 43 people than somebody who has 15 million followers. But that person who has 15 million followers, if they have built a community around what they're doing and they're not very scattered, then they can have a lot of influence around that large community as well.
Yeah, quantity versus quality. What really counts as influence is questions we're not going to answer tonight, but they come up. All right, Bayon, it's great to hear your voice, and thanks for coming on board as always. Who else has a comment or a question for Coach Joey or myself tonight?
Hello, good evening, Coach Joey. Great seeing you again, sir. How are you doing?
Very well.
Evening, Patty and Bayon, Coach Jeff. And firstly, I'd like to welcome Dr. Shamila Ramjawan and Romeo. Romeo is with the South African Arts and Culture Youth Forum,
Perfect.
Which I will also be presenting a talk on networking on Thursday. So you're all welcome to join us. We had a beautiful session yesterday.
Charlie,
with
feel free to
Dr.
share it real quick. Just feel free to share the links either in the chat here or on
Yeah.
Facebook to anything that you're doing. Feel free, please.
Good. So when we talk about the avatar, Coach Joey, we have identified that there's quite a difference with it and the person that you are actually wanting. Is it sometimes that you miss just one little thing in the very same person that you are looking for? And as Coach Jeff opened up, it might be somebody with money but is wearing T-shirts and so. How do you kind of find out, and is that put in the messaging that you are speaking to them?
Yeah, the best way typically to find out as a marketer is trying. I mean, you're going to have to try your message in a lot of different ways. It's what we call split testing or A/B testing, and you're going to have to actually find out what works and what doesn't. It's probably what takes up most of my marketing time is putting out multiple different types of content, multiple different types of messages, and seeing which one sticks, and then taking that one and then making it better, and then taking that one and versing another one until I find out it's just never ending, right? So it's never just one thing, because once you find that one thing, then you find the one thing that's better than that one thing. And that's why I wanted to end on that comment before was it's never over, or it's never perfect, or it's never right, and that's okay.
That brings me to, real quick, if I may, Charlie, I'm going to go ahead and do it now. Here's your Klubi snack for tonight.
Oh, yeah. And you only won for last week.
Joey, every week, Charlie's been asking me for a Klubi snack at the end of every session. And sometimes I'm way ahead of him, and now I'm just a little bit ahead of him. So I'm ahead of you right now. Here's the Klubi snack. According to Coach Jeffrey, everything is multi-determined. Everything is multi-determined. There you go. All right. That's your clue.
That's not getting you off last week's one, Coach Jeff.
Did you watch didn't you watch the replay? I'm sure I dropped at least one Klubi snack.
No. You dropped them, but you didn't drop any Klubi snack. And Patty and I have been chatting about it. Don't worry about it. But
all right, well, maybe I'll come up with another one before.
Coach Joey,
we're through tonight.
Yeah, Coach Joey, if I understand you correctly, is we need to keep testing who we are speaking to and speak to them in a different manner, because the very person we're looking for might not look like the person we are looking for.
Well, you may not even truly know the person that you can truly help until you find that person. It's kind of reverse engineering. Yeah. But that's, here's a very black and white type of example. If you put an email out to a list and you have a subject line, well, if 50 people open that subject line and 50 people don't, then you know that 50 of those types of people are interested in that specific message. So now you could take those 50 people from that email list, take that message, and then refine it a little bit and see how many people react to that. And eventually what you're trying to do is you're trying to find these people that are active, that they're maybe even hyperactive buyers that are looking to, find out more, to engage with you, to utilize your products or your solutions.
Excellent.
Is that Nico?
Thank you very much, Coach Joey.
Joey, was that Nico?
Yeah.
Tell him Coach Jeff says what's up.
Nico, Coach Jeff says what's up.
All right, yeah. Hope he's doing well. It'd be good to see him again too, man. All right, what else do we have for Coach Joey tonight? We're in tip number 2 from the marketing section of Get a Clue in 52. Tip number 12 overall. The numbering is going to be consistent all the way up until we get to the end of this section, because there's 12 tips in this section. So it won't be like week number 12 of the week. They're syncing up so far. This is the 12th Sunday, 12th tip. Anyway, I digress. Joey, you've been really gracious to stay up past midnight tonight, 9:07, but I'm going to prey on your generosity a little more and asking if there's anybody else that has a comment or a question for Coach Joey. Patty, your microphone's opened up.
Yes, I have a question actually for you.
Okay.
And the question is, what if you had to distill it into like a couple sentences?
Oh, gotcha.
What would you say Joey's influence has been on you?
Woo. If I could distill it in a couple of sentences.
All right, everyone, have a good night.
No, when you say it, it's so funny. When you say influence, do you mean in terms of what decisions have I made because of Joey?
No, more what he may have taught you.
Joey's one of these best friends that teaches you to look within without really telling you to look within. Joey's a no bullshit kind of guy. He shoots straight. He doesn't beat around the bush. Joey understands quickest point between one place and another is a straight line. And Joey has helped me understand that even though everything makes crystal clear, perfect, light speed sense in my head, it always takes much longer to say it all. And the Joey's got me on this road to brevity, and it may take me forever to get there, but it is the soul of wit. And I can always honor Joey by saying it quicker, doing it faster, getting to the point, breaking. What's the point? What's the bottom line here? And not enamoring myself or entertaining myself with all the theoretical, analytical, cerebral, emotive junk. It just tell me what it is, dude. And I always hear a little Joey on my shoulder when I think I'm going too long. And so hopefully Joey keeps me brief. I mean, that's just one thing that comes to mind. But Joey also helps me love myself. I mean, Joey helps me see myself in new ways and helps me appreciate things about myself that I wouldn't otherwise appreciate. Joey's been pretty good about letting me know when and why he would come to me for something that he's not good at. It's just like this, mutual, I don't know. It's hard to describe. Let's put it this way. Are you ready? Charlie, Kluby Snap. It's also my personal rule number 8. And forgive me if this is repetitive, if I've shared this one with you before, but it absolutely comes to mind when I try to answer a question like this. Like, how does Joey influence you? Or what does Joey mean to you? Or why do you love Joey? Or, here it is. Rule number 8. You guys ready? Rule number 8 is a Kluby snack. You ready, Charlie? Some things are as undeniable as they are unexplainable. And Patty, you knew this when you asked the question, if you can break it down into a sentence or two. Sorry, I can't. Because every time I try to explain how much I love this guy, I hear myself falling short. The words that normally I'm very proud of and normally I get paid a lot of money for, and normally the words that come out of my mouth are like gold compared to others. I'm known as a wordsmith. I'm paid to wordsmith. My wordsmithing is brilliant and beautiful and above and beyond in most every instance of my life, except when I'm trying to talk about how much I love my wife or my kids or Joey or you guys for being such loyal participants in what I'm doing. Every word that comes out of my mouth that tries to describe how much I love and respect Joey is not enough for how much I really do. So, Charlie.
Well, I wasn't asked. I mean, I know that about the both of you, but I was just curious about what aspect of marketing,
what
influenced you on.
I'll just, without getting too deep, his sense of aesthetic, his ability to create good looking stuff, right? I got bad grades for handwriting in school. I remember one time in elementary school, I got all 1s. And back then a 1 was equivalent to an A. I got all 1s and a 4 in handwriting. So I've had this stigma about myself that everything I do is ugly. I can't draw a straight line even with a ruler. I would use a ruler and my line is fucking crooked. You know what I'm talking about? So design, art, sense of the aesthetic, vision, colors, the angles. Look at his background. It's my program. And he looks better than me. He's doing a better job advertising my stuff than me because he can do that in his sleep. you know? And God, I wish I had that talent. I'd be creating more stuff for myself, but I have to outsource my graphics and my marketing and I've always had to outsource that stuff or tolerate something that doesn't look that great, right? But he's world-class in the way he makes things look. I'm not. I might be world-class the way I make things sound, but I'm not. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I've got my own strengths, but God, do I love Joey's sense of the aesthetic, his design capabilities, I got an opportunity. I'll give case in point. I got an opportunity to do a keynote last year on the Integrity Game. It's the first time I did a keynote. They did the Integrity Game as a keynote. It was a virtual deal. I had to do it. I had to record it and send it to them, and they played it for their audience. Do you remember that? Right? Well, the very first thing I do when I secured the gig is I called Joey to create the PowerPoint for me. I don't want to ever speak or do anything without Joey creating the graphics and the visuals for me. That's one thing I think on surface, but I think Joey and I were connected for much deeper levels. I mean, I'm just, I love him like a brother. And I remember thinking to myself, God, I want to be closer to him. I want to be friends with him. I want to know him. I want him to know me. I want to, benefit from his genius. I want him to benefit from my genius, and it's not very often in life that you're vulnerable. Like, who knows if he had the time? Who knows if, I don't know. He embraced my efforts to learn more about him and to get closer to him. And he's reciprocated beyond belief. And he's here with us tonight, past his bedtime. And, Joey is loyal. He's dedicated. He's dependable. He's fast. He's intelligent. I go on and on and on, and I'm still falling short, Charlie. Do you understand the Klubi snack? All right.
What's important, Patty, really quickly about that. I look at it a different way also, just as a lesson. And that is, as a business owner, don't just know what your strengths and weaknesses are, but actually act upon them. And a lot of business owners, they know what they're good at, what they're not good at, but they don't take action on that. And Jeff is the first person to say to himself, if I can't do this, or if I'm not good at this, I'm going to find somebody else that is good at it and stick with that person. And the faster you are to come to realization and then act upon that, the faster your business grows and the more people you can help.
Yeah. Here. I wanted to give the deep. I don't know if you were looking for a surface answer, something deep, something between, Patty, but Joey and I, it's amazing. It's like opposites attract, right? I teach this in my training, right? When I get to the relationship section in the Integrity Game training, right? When I'm giving tools for people to help with relationships, one of the things we need to understand, it's a three-part deal. First, we understand that opposites attract, but that says nothing about what number 2 is, which is staying power. So being opposite attracts you, but you're not going to hang out together unless you have shared vision, shared goals, shared values, on and on. So Joey and I are as different can be, but we share values. Lou Holtz, famous coach from Notre Dame, he used to say that family isn't who you share a last name with. Family is who you share values with. That's why I've always called him Broy. And rarely do I ever call him Joey. I hope that helps, Patty. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for all that you offered.
Awesome. All right, last call now, 9:16. I can't keep him till 1 o'clock in the morning, or can I? No, just kidding. Get a clue in 52. Tip number 12 overall. Tip number 2 from the communication section. We're talking about knowing your customer, know your ideal customers, understand the difference between the user and how that turns them into an influencer who then influences decision makers to buy more from you and everything in between. And get a hold of Joey if you want help creating your customer personas, your buyer avatars. If you don't do anything, pick up your copy of Get a Clue in 52, available for $20.20 on Amazon, or you could get a $50 copy that where proceeds will benefit Charity for Hope. My client Vipul Dayal wrote this book, Give Your Way to the Top. All of the money goes to Charity for Hope, and I sell a $50 version of this book where all of those proceeds go to Charity for Hope. If you just want to get a $20 version, you're not helping charity at all. I'm just kidding. It's up to you. Whatever you want to do there. I'll put the link in the comments on the post of this if you want to get that charity version of Get a Clue in 52. But last call for comments, questions, jokes, No Klubi snack requests. I've already given you 2 tonight, Charlie. I love you, my man. But anything for Joey before we let Joey go, and then we'll all get to sleep. No. Anything else? Last call. Hang on. Amy says, love having both you and Joey together tonight. Loads of great information. Thank you both. Thank you for that, Amy, on the Facebook side. Hello to Stephen and Brian and anybody else that was watching on the Facebook side. And my thanks to Charlie, Patty, Bayan, Romeo, and Dr. Shamila. So nice to see you guys tonight. Charlie, break a leg. That means kick ass. In your talk later on in the week, make sure you post those links so that we can support you. Last call for Joey. All right. Don't all raise your hands.
Thanks for seeing you, Coach Joey. It was good to see you again. And thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a great week.
All right. Let's go ahead and Patty, you ready to seal it with a kiss? All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming on board. We're going to wrap up. Tip number 12 overall, number 2 in the communication section to get a clue 52. That was my Joey impersonation. All right. Love you guys. Thank you.